Hey, I'm Ryan from draftyourbid.com, and today we're talking about how to write a change order and why every freelancer needs one. By the end, you'll be able to say yes to extra work while actually getting paid for it, without any awkwardness. Let's get into it. Let me start with the pain this solves. A client asks you for just one small addition. You say sure, no problem. Then another. Then a bigger one. Each feels too minor to charge for on its own, so you don't, and by the end of the project you've delivered maybe 20% more than you quoted, for exactly the same money. You feel used, the client has no idea anything's wrong, and you quietly resent a relationship that's otherwise going well. The change order is the single tool that fixes all of that, and it's one of the least used tools in a freelancer's kit. So what is a change order? Also called a variation order or a change request, it's a brief document that captures a modification to the agreed scope of work. It describes what's changing, how much that change will cost, and how it affects the timeline. And crucially, both parties sign it before the additional work begins. Now, I want to reframe how you think about these, because this is where people get stuck. A change order is not a confrontational document. It's a professional one. It protects the client, who now knows exactly what they're paying for before committing, and it protects you, who now has written confirmation of the extra scope and fee. It's good for both sides. When should you issue one? Whenever the client requests something outside the scope in your original contract or quote. Common triggers: additional deliverables that weren't in the original scope. Significant changes to agreed deliverables after work has begun. Extra rounds of revision beyond the number you agreed. Expanding the target audience, market, or geography. Timeline changes that force you to reschedule or work outside normal hours. Or new stakeholders showing up with requirements that differ from the original brief. And the simple test that covers all of these: does this request require time or resources beyond what was in the original quote? If yes, it needs a change order. Now, what goes in one? Good news, it does not need to be long. One page is usually plenty. Include a reference to the original contract or quote, with its date and number. A description of the change, in specific terms, what's being added or modified. A brief reason, something like the client requested addition of X or scope expanded to include Y. The additional cost, clearly stated. The impact on the timeline, whether the delivery date moves and by how much. And space for both parties to sign and date. Keep the language plain and factual. A change order isn't a negotiation, it's a record of what's been agreed. But let's be honest about the real reason freelancers avoid these. It's not that they don't know what a change order is. It's discomfort. You worry about seeming difficult, about creating friction in a relationship that's going well, about losing the client. And here's what I've learned: the conversation is almost always easier than you fear. Most clients genuinely don't realize they're asking for more than they've paid for. When you present the change order as a normal process, not an accusation, they usually accept it without a second thought. The trick is in the framing. Present it as a logistic step, not a complaint. Try something like, "That's a great addition. It's outside the original scope, so I'll put together a quick change order for the time and cost. Should only take an hour or so of extra work, and I'm happy to start as soon as we've both signed off." Look at what that phrasing does. It says yes to the work, which is good business. It explains the process, which is professional. And it gets agreement before you begin, which protects you. 3 wins in 2 sentences. A couple of practical habits make this even stronger. Number your change orders, CO-001, CO-002, and reference the original contract on each. Keep copies of everything signed with your project records, because if a dispute ever arises about what was agreed, those documents are your evidence. And when you invoice for the extra work, reference the change order number. That creates a clean audit trail from approval to payment, and makes it very hard for a client to dispute an invoice for work they've already signed off. And the best move of all is to build the change order process into your contract from the very start, before any change request arrives. Include a simple clause: any requests for work outside the agreed scope will be documented in a written change order specifying the additional work, cost, and timeline impact. Additional work will not commence until both parties have signed the relevant change order. When clients know the process exists before the project even begins, using it feels completely routine instead of confrontational. So, to sum up, a change order captures extra work in writing, with its cost and timeline, signed before you start. Issue one whenever a request goes beyond your original scope. Keep it to one factual page. Frame the conversation as logistics, not a complaint. Number and track them. And build the clause into every contract up front. Do that, and just one more thing stops eating your margin and starts adding to your income. Let me give you a concrete example of the wording in action. Say you're a designer, you quoted a brand identity with a logo and 2 rounds of revisions, and the client comes back on round 3 wanting to explore a completely different direction. You reply, "Love that you're thinking big about this. That's a new direction beyond the 2 rounds we scoped, so I'll send over a quick change order. It'll be an extra day's work at my day rate, and it pushes delivery back by 2 days. Happy to crack on the moment it's signed." Then you send a 1-page change order, CO-001, referencing the original quote, describing the new direction, the cost, and the revised date. The client signs, you do the work, and when you invoice, you add a line, change order CO-001, as agreed. No tension, no unpaid work, no confusion at invoice time. Compare that to the alternative, where you silently do the extra day, feel resentful, and the client never even knew there was a boundary. Same work, completely different outcome, and the only difference was one short, friendly document. And that's how to write a change order, and why every freelancer needs one. If this helped, do hit like and subscribe, it genuinely helps the channel. And I'd love to hear from you, so drop your change order questions in the comments and I'll answer them. Before you go, take a look at the video showing on screen right now. Chances are you haven't seen it yet, and it's a perfect next watch from here. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.